There are many great things about Mario, but something I particularly love about that ridiculous little man is just the sheer number of games that he's been in, even before you factor in weird educational spin-offs or his attempts at playing every sport ever. Cause there are so many Mario games that even within the main series, there are weird outliers. And for a very long time, I saw Super Mario Sunshine as a strange relic amongst the 3D Mario games. But once I finally completed it, I found that the weirdness mostly worked in its favor. Hey everyone, and welcome back to an all-new episode of the Completionist New Game Plus, the show where I am recompleting the original 120 games that I ever featured here on the channel. But first, a quick update for those of you on Patreon. Now, I've been on Patreon. I think I'm one of the oldest creators on Patreon with regards to how long I've been using the service for. I've been on it for about 6, almost 7 years, and I am honored and humbled to still have a really good community and support system there, and I want to open the doors to you guys as much as I can, and so I'm offering a new incentive. Now, for those of you who are in the mini producer tier, or if you want to join the mini producer tier, this is what you currently get. You get access to the Discord as well as your names in the credits of every single episode of the content that we produce here on the channel. However, going forward, we're adding another incentive. If you join those tiers, you actually get to vote on what games I complete here on the show. And we're doing it in categories, and right now the current category is Metroidvania. So if you want to join us, head over to patreon.com/thecompletionist, and at the very least, I'll see you guys in the Discord where I'm very active with all my friends. So I'll see you guys there. I am really excited for Mario Sunshine today because the original Mario Sunshine episode holds a special place in my heart. I dedicated it to the troops and completed it at the request of Private Jared Griffith and his platoon, who are fans of the show, and hopefully they still are. It ended up being a really appropriate time that I released that episode on July 4th originally, and so it only seemed fitting that we released the new Mario Sunshine episode on July 4th as well, because nothing says July 4th like sunshine, and nothing says America like a tiny Italian plumber. How's the saying go? In Mario we trust, one nation under Koopa, with mushrooms and Koopas for all? I don't know. Let's begin. Everyone knows what a big Mario fan I am, so I think it came as a surprise to a lot of people that Super Mario Sunshine and I totally missed each other when it came out. Now, I love Mario 64 because who doesn't, and I'm obsessed with the Mario Galaxy games, but Sunshine always felt like a weird anomaly to me, and I somehow just never played it until it was requested for the show. And after finally getting around to playing it, it became clear to me that even though it's super weird, it's also a really important step in the development of the 3D Mario games. Playing the Galaxy games first definitely made playing Sunshine feel like I was going backwards a bit, since Galaxy was able to go a step further and bust the 3D platforming gameplay wide open. But that's not Sunshine's fault, because even though Galaxy always felt to me personally like the true successor to Mario 64, Sunshine was the game that actually had to follow up on 64's massive success. And instead of churning out a carbon copy of Mario 64 for the Gamecube, they showed a willingness to get weird that would continue into future Mario games and set a major precedent of innovation that would carry through all of the 3D Mario titles. Even the story lets you know right away this isn't just your typical Mario adventure. Yes, Princess Peach gets kidnapped because this is still Mario and some laws of the universe are set in stone, but the rest of the setup is truly weird. Mario and Peach go on a vacation to the tropical island of Isle Delfino, which is experiencing a wave of vandalism at the hands of a Shadow Mario, who looks just like Mario, which means that everyone's favorite plumber ends up taking the fall and getting thrown in jail. He's ordered to clean up the graffiti with the help of a sentient device known as Fludd, which stands for Flash Liquidizer Ultra Dowsing Device, because yes, of course it does. And if you think it's weird that the plot of this game is essentially Mario doing community service by cleaning up graffiti, well, you're not wrong. It never really sat right with me, and might be a part of the reason why I avoided it for so long. But while I still think it's weird as hell, I also kind of appreciate how bonkers and hilarious it is. I was also initially scared off a bit by the Fludd itself, which provides all of the game's major new mechanics. In order to collect all of Isle Delfino's shine sprites and blue coins, Mario has to employ the Fludd's two modes. One that blasts water to wash away graffiti and fend off enemies, and another that uses water to push Mario up into the air like a jetpack. And while flying around with a jetpack is definitely awesome, my big sticking point with this game hasn't changed. I'm talking, of course, about the lack of the long jump. Mario can still do all sorts of classic Mario moves, but the long jump feels like a staple to me, and I constantly had to remind myself last time that it was not available in this game. It was one of my major complaints, alongside a pretty wonky camera. And although the camera is still an issue, I know my problem with the lack of long jump is partly because I played this game out of order, and I wouldn't have been so attached to it if I had played this right after Mario 64. But my feelings are my feelings. And in America, you stand up for what you believe in and argue with everyone around you about how wrong you are, because that's how it is, and it is the 4th of July, and that's the American way, goddammit. Now, I've avoided this game for a long time because I wasn't really sure where its place was in the Mario series for me. I just got a weird vibe from it that I can't explain, and when I finally played it for the show, I discovered that I was both right and wrong. Super Mario Sunshine's overall strangeness is both its biggest weakness and its biggest strength. It's willing to forge forward and do its own thing, with the trade-off being that it doesn't always feel as Mario-esque as I would like. Right away, it throws you off by not being set in the Mushroom Kingdom. Just the thought of Mario and Peach setting off on a vacation is kind of jarring. And that's before you even think about the fact that they probably left Luigi behind with a spare key to water their piranha plants, and you know he's gonna mess it up somehow with his big mansion. And then there's the bit where Mario is literally thrown in jail for vandalism. Although, to be clear, I wouldn't not play a game that's entirely about Mario navigating life in prison, but building a whole game around Mario's mandated community service is just wild. But the weirdness is hugely accentuated by one major feature, which is the voice acting.
What happened?
Yeah, voice acting in a Mario game, like true voice acting. I don't know why I found this whole idea so unsettling, but I really did, and I still kind of do. Future games thankfully never went back to this. That's also probably why it threw me off so much again. And it's even weirder because Mario still only communicates with grunts and yells, and it kind of just makes you wonder why he's being so weird. Don't be embarrassed by your accent, Mario. If everyone else is talking, you should be too. A lot of my weirdness with this game is kind of abstract like that. Just a personal feeling brought on by what I've come to expect from Mario games. Because the Fludd itself always felt very un-Mario to me as well, but I've gotten over that over the years. I still think my favorite parts of Sunshine are the moments where the Fludd gets taken away and you have to rely on classic platforming shenanigans, but that's not to say that the water blasting device is unsuccessful. Of the reservations I still had about this game, the Fludd is probably the main thing I've come around on. Just like Cappy and Odyssey, it's one of those mechanics that really sets the game apart from the series as a whole, while still folding itself neatly into Mario's history. The same can be said for Bowser Jr., who turns out to be Shadow Mario as well. Well, spoilers, I guess. But Bowser Jr. is one of those things from this game that would go on to become a fixture of the series, and the game raises a lot of questions about him that never really have been answered. For example, we all know this, Bowser Jr. seems to be under the impression that Princess Peach is his mom, and even Peach seems to kind of believe it. I don't know. It really kind of opens up a whole can of worms, Nintendo. But I'm kind of glad that Bowser Jr. stuck around, even if his existence makes me mildly uncomfortable. Altogether though, most of my issues with this game have washed away with time, no pun intended. Given the direction that this series has grown in, it's easy now to see how important Sunshine was in the overall growth of the 3D Mario titles. Not just because some of its ideas would be refined and perfected in future games, but because even the stuff that's specific to this game has grown to feel more and more Mario-esque. Except that camera though, which is just straight up bad. Sometimes I'd get trapped behind a wall, and if the camera wasn't exactly in the right place, I would just fly off a ledge, and it was just every bit of infuriating now as it was when I first played it. In fact, it's one of the game's only flaws that was made even worse by additional context, since the Galaxy games and Odyssey would end up paying much more attention to its camera. Now, I don't know if this will make sense, but I've grown to feel that the things about this game that are most un-Mario have grown with time to be the most Mario. Like Isle Delfino, for instance, which seems like a weird setting at first, but ended up setting a precedent for strange settings that would see Mario going into outer goddamn space. Or the Fludd, which didn't end up entering the pantheon of great Mario power-ups in my opinion, but provides this game with an instantly identifiable gameplay hook that sets it completely apart from everything else. And folks, there's nothing more Mario than that. Even the overall density of this game sets it apart, with what feels like a smaller number of levels, but a truly insane amount of stuff packed into each of those levels, like the blue coins, which there is a truly upsetting number of. And yeah, Mario is all about collecting stuff, but these blue coins are everywhere, and you can see most of them in plain sight, but figuring out how to get them can be a challenge, which is sometimes a good thing, and sometimes tested my patience a little. It's especially difficult to find the last few coins in each level, because the game doesn't really give you a convenient way to keep track of all the ones you found so far and which ones you haven't. This is yet another thing I think got refined in later games, like Odyssey. The levels in Odyssey are packed, and at least as dense as the ones in Mario Sunshine, but the act of collecting them feels a little more varied, and the game takes care of the player a little more when it comes to helping them track stuff down. So, even if collecting all of the blue coins wore me out a little bit, I can see how it helped to build a platform for Odyssey's approach to collectibles, or even Galaxy's overall structure of the game. And now that I've been hearing all of these rumors of a 3D Mario collection, it's really interesting to go back and remind myself of Sunshine's place in this incredible series, even if it missed it when it came out, because this still isn't my favorite 3D Mario game by any means, but my appreciation for it has only grown with time. The things that are weird about it are still weird, like the voice acting, camera, or a couple of boat sequences that really don't work for me towards the end. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But even those things are a symbol of what makes Mario games so good. The ability to throw in crazy, ambitious new ideas with each installment, while somehow keeping the overall feel of what a Mario game should be. Because if Luigi can have a side hustle busting ghosts, then Mario can clean up graffiti on a tropical island if he wants to. And I'm not going to question it this time around. Especially if the thing on his back is a transformer. That thing has 3 different modes, they're all different, they handle all differently and weird, and it's really cool. Creepy, but cool. Something I am going to question though is this game's work to reward ratio, because it is not great. There are 120 shine sprites of varying difficulty, and 24 of those require all of the blue coins, which means there are literally hundreds of things to collect in this game. And you know what? It's Mario, so I'd be a fool not to expect that. But I also don't think it's asking too much for like a super secret bonus level or something, because a lot of the other 3D Mario games are actually pretty good at handing out rewards for going above and beyond. While I still appreciated the super chill Hawaiian shirt that you unlock for beating the game, the reward for getting every last shine sprite should at least be that impressive in my eyes. But instead, it's just a different end screen. Neat, great, totally worth it as always. Now, I usually would recommend trying to collect everything in a Mario game, even if the reward is not great. But the blue coins do get a little more repetitive than the equivalent collectibles in some of the other games. Make no mistake, I enjoyed Super Mario Sunshine much more this time around, and I'm actually kind of bummed that I skipped it as a kid, even though I think the extra context of the later games has helped me to appreciate its overall place in the Mario pantheon. While I re-completed Super Mario Sunshine, there were 9 deaths, far too many of which were still caused by the terrible camera. 120 shine sprites collected, which vary wildly in difficulty and obnoxiousness. But going back to it after having completed Mario Odyssey with its millions of moons actually makes 120 shine sprites seem kinda quaint by comparison. 240 blue coins collected, which went a little quicker than I remembered, but still got kinda frustrating by the end. 37 total hours of playtime, which is a few hours less than before, because I remembered where a bunch of stuff was. And only 1 Mario game with full-on voice acting, which is probably for the best. I mean, it's fine, but it still kind of weirds me out. I don't have to explain myself to you. This is America. So there you guys have it, my second trip to Isle Delfino with Super Mario Sunshine. I still find elements of this game to be super weird, but most of my issues from last time didn't feel as big of a deal this time around, and I actually ended up really enjoying it, even though I still wouldn't call Sunshine one of my favorite 3D Mario games ever. But Mario Sunshine definitely fits in with the series, not in spite of all the things that make it weird, but because of all the things that make it weird. These are weird games, and I wouldn't have it any other way. In the past, we would sometimes split hairs and reward a game both a finish it and complete it with a fin to beat it. But the show has changed, and some of those blue coins are truly a pain to get. which is why Super Mario Sunshine gets my new completionist rating of finish it.
Finish it!